Hi guys, who are the real victims in the grooming gang scandal? If you were to think it's the girls who were exploited and ignored by social services and the police, you'd be wrong, because it appears the real victims are Nigel Farage, Kemi Badenoch and Chris Philp, because they have been accused of jumping on a far-right bandwagon and the Prime Minister is being asked to apologise to them. You couldn't make it up. So Starmer was interviewed by a reporter for GB News who asked the PM if he was talking about viewers of the channel when he was describing the far right. And have a listen to what the Labour leader had to say.
When you said to me in January in that hospital, you said that it's a far right bandwagon if you're calling for national inquiry. I know you're talking about politicians, but a lot of GB News viewers and listeners were also concerned and they felt you were calling them far right. Would you perhaps regret that remark?
Well, I wasn't calling them far right. Now, Chris, right. I think you may have been in the room, and
yes, I was there.
You will have known. I said expressly politicians, and I mean politicians, and I was expressly calling out politicians who had been in office
yes.
And done nothing,
yes.
And it was them that I was criticising.
It's not a far right issue, is it?
No, and I was certainly wasn't criticising your viewers, but I think if you look at what I said, and I know you have done carefully, and you'll have listened to it, I'm very, very explicit, because there's one thing that I find frustrating. It's politicians who had the opportunity in power to do something about it and did absolutely nothing. Now claiming, late to the issue, yes. that the only ones that have ever raised the issue. I've been raising this issue for 15 years. I'm really glad that I'm the Prime Minister that's actually now put in place a national inquiry, something which wasn't done for the last...
Well, we're challenging them too. So Keir Starmer, thank you for joining us today on GB News. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good response from Starmer. You know, he said, look, when I was talking about the far right and people jumping on a far right bandwagon, I was talking about politicians. Now, he didn't name them specifically here, but we're talking about Kemi Badenoch, we're talking about Nigel Farage, we're talking about Chris Philp. These are the individuals that have been referred to on many occasions as jumping on this bandwagon. And that's exactly what they were doing. Kemi Badenoch, she was a minister in the previous administration. What did she do about the grooming gangs? Nothing. Did she raise this issue in the House of Commons? No, she didn't. Chris Philp, the same. Now, Nigel Farage wasn't a member of Parliament, but those two MPs, those two Tories, were in positions of power and they didn't use that power to help the victims. Now, we shouldn't be talking about far-right bandwagons. Unfortunately, people are more upset with this idea than what happened to the victims. We should be talking about the victims. We should be focusing on them. But unfortunately, the far-right don't want to talk about them. And here brings us to Nigel Farage. Does Nigel Farage actually care about the victims? Of course he doesn't. This is about trying to bring down the government. This is not about the victims. Farage is using this issue. Reform UK is using this issue to try and bring down Keir Starmer, to paint him as someone who's out of touch, who's now U-turning because of Nigel Farage, because of reform. Well, why should you vote for a Labour government? They'll do nothing. You might as well vote for reform because they'll actually do stuff. They're not concerned with the victims here. They're using the victims. Kemi Badenoch as well, using the victims, taking them on TV, doing interviews with them. I can guarantee you, as soon as this issue is swept under the carpet by the media moves on to the next issue. Kemi Badenoch will not be returning these people's phone calls because they no longer serve a purpose. It's cynical. Look at what the Conservatives have been doing over the last 20 years. When they were in power for 14 of those years, they did nothing to help the most vulnerable in society. They actually put in measures to punish the most vulnerable in society. Look at austerity. Look at how many people died as a result of that. This is not a party that actually cares about people. It cares about using them to further their own gains. And of course, they're using the victims here to try and bring down Keir Starmer's government, or at least damage it in some way. So we are on the side of victims. Well, you were not on the side of the victims when all of this was happening. When the J report was issued, when it had all those findings, why didn't you implement them? So, were they jumping on a far-right bandwagon? Yes, it was basically being led by the far-right on social media. And of course, Elon Musk was jumping in on that as well, using his powerful influence What do you hear about grooming gangs now from Elon Musk? Nothing, because it served its purpose. It was an issue that he could jump on, he could amplify, and then when he's tired of it, he moves on to something else. And you're going to see exactly the same with the Conservatives, and you're going to see exactly the same with Reform. They may bring it up from time to time, but once it's served its purpose, they'll move on to something else. And the victims will, of course, will be forgotten. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.